Hi everyone, this is Dr. KatherineT.Kelly. I did a video just earlier today about how parents set our foundation as part of our soul group and our biological family in order for our soul's evolution to take place. And then I've had four conversations since I've done that video, and one of them was very poignant. And I want to help you understand how karmic energy works within families and how I want to give you an example, something tangible, metaphorical that is going to help you understand the karmic energies within a family that we are supposed to evolve beyond. Now, this client I was working with was having really some challenges with a sibling and kind of belief systems, and really didn't know where to go with it. It's really stirring some things up for her, and she's very concerned about the whole situation. And as we were talking, it was helping her understand, again, the stickiness of these situations and why there is a visceral kind of reaction. Why is it that we have such a deep, energetic, visceral reaction when we are going through some things, particularly in biological family? Now, as a review, you know that biological family serves to really each member serves to teach us. Each person in our biological family, from a soul perspective, chooses to come into that family in order to learn something or teach something to one or another, whether or not you're conscious of it or not. So each person plays a key role. Now, when there's a family dynamic that is really not fitting a particular person, it can be very, very hard to move beyond that. It can be very hard to feel like again, you're the lone wolf. You're the person that's the lone sheep, I guess. You're the one that is breaking out of old patterns. And so I helped her understand, I helped this client understand that it's like so interwoven. And I use these concepts of, here is her soul's matrix. If you were to imagine her soul having a matrix of experiences and life lessons and characteristics and anything that has laced her soul from really every perspective from every lifetime forward, including this one, as well as the dynamics that are interjoined with hers because of her family members. And so I was using this example of her matrix, the other matrix systems within the family. And I brought up the idea of a wire, that sometimes when you clip a wire, it's not just one wire. There's several teeny tiny wires, microfibers that are micro wires that are woven together. And so I wanted to give you an example of this, and I'm going to help you understand what it means to move beyond and why it's so difficult to move beyond some of that family dysfunction, family patterning, family challenges, whatever it might be, because there is a visceral aspect to it. So I went through some of my craft closet basically, and I grabbed some macrame cord, because this is really the same thing as going into a wire, although this probably demonstrates it even more. Is that if you look closely, there are all these interwoven cords that are already part of this. I think this is, I don't know, probably a 10 or 15 millimeter. I don't remember how many millimeters this is, but you see that there are several that are interwoven together. So if you were to look at this as the family patterns, and you can kind of pull some of these apart, what ends up happening though is that each individual strand of this is like one of the people in the family. It's like one of the individual souls that is in a family. So if you pull this apart, there's probably, I think there's 5 or 6 I don't know, there's probably 5 or 6 different pieces that are woven together. If you think about trying to separate yourself from belief systems or old patterns or old dynamics or anything that doesn't fit for you as a soul, it is like trying to disentangle yourself from these cords. It's like disentangling from things that don't fit. But obviously, it would take me quite a while to undo this entire string. And then what do we have? We have all these little micro strings in here, and basically, each one of these is like a life lesson. Each one of these little strings that is teeny tiny in here is like a life lesson. So when I was explaining to this client that it is a visceral reaction when we outgrow something, it's a visceral reaction when we are having to face something within a family, of course it's going to cause anxiety. Sometimes it causes depression. Sometimes it just causes stress in general, because we have to piece through, wow, why is this no longer fitting? Why does this not fit who I am or who I was, because you would think that, everybody would grow at the same pace, which is so not true. Would be growing, period, which is so not true. But it's that whole idea of, if something, again, a mindset, a belief system, a behavioral system, a pattern, a habit, whatever, if something no longer fits for you, it's uncomfortable for us to outgrow it. It is uncomfortable for us to move beyond it. And so when it comes to the family karmic stuff, when it comes to the family patterning, ancestral healing, so changing beliefs, changing behaviors, all of that, it's very visceral. It's very woven into who we are. So we have to think about how intricately woven each one of our family dynamics is, and how that is part of our soul's evolution to disentangle what no longer fits, and how long that can take. And this woman's going on 50, maybe she is 50, and she's been dealing with, like most people, she's been dealing with trying to figure out relationships with her parents and relationships with her sibling, and figuring out how in the world how do you grow? How do you get beyond this and still stay in your truth? So how do you keep your own integrity? So without unraveling, meaning without unraveling who you are. And it's a very tough thing, but it is part of our evolutionary path to realize that sometimes our biological families and our soul groups, which are part of our biological families, are there to be outgrown, the words evolved beyond. And this whole month, I'm talking a lot about the difference between biological family, soul groups, soul family, which is a very different kind of thing, which may not even have any of your biological family involved. And I'm trying to help people really understand why it is so difficult for us, in many ways, for us to deal with family issues. Boy, I could go on forever, but when we think about the soul side of things, it's much more complex than just thinking, oh, we just need to learn how to get along, or we just need to get over this, or whether there's a parent-child situation, or a sibling to sibling situation. If you are in your process of soul evolution and you're trying to understand things from the soul side, there's much more to it. And yet, even though it can sound much more complicated, boy, does it simplify things when you have things like metaphors to help you understand how everything is evolving or devolving, meaning how things are falling apart and why they're falling apart. One of the things I reminded this client of is that everything happens for us, not to us. And so if we can somewhat emotionally detach from a situation in order to stay in loving kindness and realize that, okay, everybody's on their path, then it helps you widen the screen, or widen the view, so that you can really understand why things are happening and why things are needing to be disentangled, or why basically you need to kind of figure out what your particular strand is in this whole family strand of um, individuals. So, as I play with this thing as we're talking, it makes you see how complicated it is, because every soul in a family has their life lessons. Every soul in a family has something that they are supposed to grow out of because of being in that biological family. But a lot of times people just don't even realize that. They try to make things work, and then there's more and more difficulty or dysfunction. And really, it's about outgrowing what no longer fits. So, what may look like a happy family is really a lot of intertwined difficulties. And really, what you have to do as a soul in their evolutionary and healing path is figure out, who am I amongst all of this, and how is it that I can be and remain in my truth? And that's why I really think biological family exists. Is it's fodder for growth. It's a learning platform. It's basically your entry into the world of your next chapter of your soul's evolution, so that you can learn what you're supposed to learn and evolve beyond it, because that is what our soul is here to do, is evolve beyond all of the stuff that no longer fits. So I just wanted to give you that metaphor, because it really does help people understand, okay, there is something else going on here when something doesn't make sense, or something is very sticky, and when something is very visceral, as you are outgrowing a pattern, because it is really an energetic kind of removal of things that no longer fit. And that can be excruciating. And yet at the same time, when something no longer fits, there's something that repels you from trying to make that go and stay together. So lots of metaphor here. I'm going to be providing a lot more information about soul groups and soul patterns and families and relationships in general, because I think it's time for us to understand from a soul perspective what else is happening, whether it's karmically, astrologically, whether it's you have soul lessons that you're supposed to learn from each other. I want people to understand all of this is part of your soul healing. So the reason I bring a lot of this information to you now is that there's a lot stirring in the world. There are a lot of relationship issues happening and trying to get worked out. And it's really about our evolution. It's always about our evolution. But I just wanted to give you yet another method or metaphor to be able to really look at why is it that family can be so difficult at times. So more and more to come. I love bringing the ancient wisdom and sage wisdom to you to help you with your modern kinds of situations. And there is more to come. Light and love to all of you. And thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.